you
You
again.
did a lot more than work. That's a compliment.
There you go. Thanks.
Can you send me to you? I never said I do have it. Oh, that's fine. Yes. And it's on the side. If it works out, it's in one day afternoon.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another wonderful evening at Cherry Hill Public Library. A few housekeeping things. I just want to point you in the direction of a couple of programs coming up you might be interested in. Saturday, we have free yoga. Saturday morning at the library. It's great. Spots are open. Seats 60. You can do it in the chair. You can do it on the floor. Bring your mat. Whatever you want. It's great. Monday we have a movie at 2 p.m. Jerry and Marge Go Large. We thank the Friends for sponsoring all of our movie programs. We couldn't do it without them. On Thursday, we have two programs coming up on Wednesday and Thursday. On Wednesday, we have Keeping Yourself Safe Online. That's a good one for all of us in the morning in the computer lab. And in the evening, we have our featured program for that week, which is We Were There Too, Jews in the American Revolution. So please come to that. That would be really great. And I'd like to introduce tonight's most excellently talented musician and author, Shai Anbar, who's going to tell us about surviving a stroke and writing a book about goddess Aphasia, which goes hand in hand. He'll explain that to us.
Thank you so much, Erica. Thank you, Cherry Hill Library, for inviting me. And thank you, everybody, for taking the time to come out and hear me out. It's an honor and a privilege for me to tell you my patchwork quilt of a life story. So if this is a National Stroke Awareness Month. You know, Aphasia is coming in June. And I'm a stroke survivor. Why am I here talking to you? Well, first, I'm fortunate to be here, period. Second, I'm also very fortunate to the ability to express myself, hopefully making some sense. And third, it took me 7 years to finally write and publish my book, hoping that it, you know, it'll be like a foot in the door kind of thing, where I'll come out and, you know, spread the word of faith. Unfortunately, most people don't know, never heard of aphasia, which I find very interesting because most people do know about stroke, and you know, aphasia stems, you know, frequently from a stroke. Currently, in the US, there are about 7.5 million stroke survivors and about 800,000 people who have a stroke, and every year. There are about 2.5 million Americans who have aphasia, and about 180,000 people acquire it. So if you do the math, it's about a third of people here in the US that suffer a stroke and develop aphasia. What is aphasia? It's a disorder that affects how you communicate. It impacts language, speech, and understanding. There are types of aphasia, including the cause and the extent of brain damage. Well, for example, John Fetterman, the congressman, senator, right? And there's, Bruce Willis, the actor, obviously different types of failure. Me, I'll tell you about me. First, I was born 62 years ago in Jerusalem, Israel. And when I was 15, my dad got a job, an assignment for 3 years. The family and I came to the US. Why 3 years? Because in Israel, men and women, when you get to the age of 18, you have to go to the army, it's mandatory. So we knew for 3 years, and we landed, of all places, in Cherry Hill. Now, many years after, I asked my mom, why did you pick Cherry Hill? Because we knew that at the time my dad had 3 options to choose: Cherry Hill, Rochester, New York, and Seattle, Washington. So he said, Rochester is too cold and Seattle is too rainy and gray, so Cherry Hill it is. No complaints at all. So I enrolled at Cherry Hill. I actually graduated Cherry Hill West early, 1 year earlier. So at the age of 17, I enrolled at Rutgers Camden and caught the philosophy bar. And as we packed our bags coming home, and I vowed, I'll be back. I love America until this day. The peak of puberty, 15 to 18, I loved America. I loved academia, and I hate the army. I got to be back. And about 5 years later, my mandatory service and some reserve time, I came back to the US alone and re-enrolled at Rutgers. Got my BA, and then my master's degree, Temple, philosophy, of course. I wanted to teach. I really wanted to be a teacher, but there were no jobs available. So I just reluctantly accepted a job for a logistics company in New York. And I said, hey, I have to pay the bill, but I always look out for this teaching opportunities. Well, fast forward, I lived and worked in a corporate setting. Actually, I lived and worked in every continent except Australia. And my last job was as a CEO for the biometric and security startup. The man I used to be successful career, monetary rewards, friends, family, wife, 2 kids, and family dog, Molly. And languages. One of my biggest passions were languages. I lived and worked in Italy. I have a fluent Italian. I lived and worked in Miami and New York for an Argentinian company. Totally immersed in Spanish. I was stellar Spanish. 3 years in Belgium. I studied Dutch and French. And of course, at high school, I elected German and Rutgers for 4 years of Rachen, of course. I loved it. Loved language. December 6, 2011, a day which lives in infamy. So I took a day off to my job because I not needed, but I chose. I needed a medical procedure. It's a very simple one for an ablation, right? Or fix your arrhythmia. I actually had my ablation 2 years earlier and it didn't work. I said, let's give a shot in the next flowery gown and sedate and see you later a couple hours later. I wake up and I set up, I see these nurses and my wife behind me, but they're wheeling the hospital bed down the corridor kind of frantically. And I said, oh, what? I froze. Let me try it again. Calm me down. You had a stroke. For the next week, stayed at the hospital, tests galore, and my wife, she bought 2 items from home to the hospital. It was my guitar and a children's book, practice for speech therapy. The dog jumped over the moon in one fell swoop. Folks, the man I used to be lost almost everything. I lost career, of course, languages, friends, which sometimes when quote-unquote friends, some of them run for the hills when it comes to aphasia. That's another story. My marriage was very quickly dissolved. Also, basically I lost my joy, my pride, my dignity. For the next 2 years or so, after I moved from the family home, I rented an attic in a residential home in a town at the time, Montclair. Had no kitchen because the fire marshal said so. Why did I still sign the lease? Because I couldn't care less. Cooking was for me a huge passion. But after my stroke, I lost about 25 pounds. Frozen dinners were fine by me, my fridge. No TV, because why do I need a TV for? If I turn TV, I get maybe 10% of the gist of things anyway. So what's the point? But you know, the isolation, the frustration, the anger, the hopelessness, gloom. I hated me. And can't stress enough how much the word depression, that my mental state, and you know, coupled with alcohol abuse and smoking and the pills prescribed and not, because there was no point until I got shown the light. The small difference between you see the light and get shown the light. I got shown the light because, oddly enough, it's Aphasia who barged into my life and begged me to write, express, and spread her word, Aphasia. I am your companion, Shai. I'm sorry about your loss. I'll be there for you, but find yourself first. Which I did. I wrote that book because I owed it to myself and I owed it to her. Her, she, Shai, what's Aphasia? What? Allow me to be taught. So, God's Aphasia is a hybrid of a memoir and creative nonfiction that depicts the arduous journey of a stroke survivor diagnosed with aphasia, with a quirky twist, personifying the character, Aphasia herself. Well, Shai, how do you even choose a metaphor of a goddess? Fair enough. As a businessman turned aphasia advocate, my sole intention was and is to bring awareness about aphasia so it becomes more than just a term in a medical textbook. So how do I do that? I want for people to get the name aphasia, but not always with the medical jargon. How do you do that? And I'm thinking, okay, well, aphasia, it's a Greek word, means speechless. And I love Greek mythology. You know, Zeus, Apollo, Venus, Aphrodite. Aphrodite is the goddess of love. Athena is the goddess of peace and war. Aphasia is the goddess of lost words. So I've embarked on a journey of exploration, of recovery and discovery. Recovery, somehow I dragged my butt out from my social isolation and attended speech therapy in group. There's a organization, a few of them. This one, my favorite is Adler Aphasia Center, headquartered in New Jersey, a handful of locations, one here in Haddonfield, You can see a little bit bigger if needed. But the speech language pathologist, SLP, what they've done for me and us Aphasians, I call us, is priceless. I mean, they are angels, saints. But for the first time, in a long time, I was laughing. I was having fun. I'm part of a community. Kind of belong. Maybe I'll stick around for a while, I said. And but pathologists also, through them, I signed up for aphasia research studies. It's like an aphasia lab, right? Communication disorder department in universities, hospital, the rehab center. I'm the guinea pig. Test me, learn my condition, I learn from you. It's just win-win proposition for all of us. For me, recovery, part of the healing. The discovery is about the unexpected. Like aphasia bargain, like unannounced. Surprised the hell out of me. But I also surprised myself. Because through aphasia, I brought some new items into my personal agenda. For example, transparency. So I use a metaphor called peeling an onion. But layer by layer, till you're butt naked, pure, transparent. I shed my fear. I shed my insecurity. I shed my shame, my self-importance. Goodbye material possession. But instead, aphasia shows me how beautiful, blissful I am despite of my condition. See, being stuck permanently with aphasia, I forced myself to re-examine and reboot. Yes, aphasia shut the window of my language, for example. But aphasia also opened other windows, bringing acceptance, compassion, humility, kindness, forgiveness. Suddenly, an inner world appeared, vast, extraordinary, letting me see things I couldn't see before. I found me because I got deeper and searching. But it was also aphasia who taught me how to love myself again, and even more. So my transformation, one of the things is I went full circle into my roots, to my true passions, bringing creativity and inspiration into the cooking, into into my guitar. And languages, I have a Duolingo app. I practice my Italian and Spanish daily. Not easy, but it's never give up. But I also embraced the trauma. You know, for us Aphasians and for many of us, we know that traumatic events we can't control. But to me, it was my responsibility to embrace who I am and what I am. And through my aphasia, hopefully to close that gap, be more accepting and more at peace. Transformation for me is never complete. But the man I used to be is now a better man. I am. In closing, people with aphasia, people like me, we have steep mountains to climb. But, well, we have aphasia, and companionship is also a blessing and a curse. But, I just look at the bright side of life. I smile more, I worry less, and I prefer the half full glass instead of the half empty one. It's just me and my aphasia, a man and his pain. The message I leave you with is, now that you talked about aphasia, heard something about aphasia, please spread the word if you can. Be patient and kind for us Aphasians and also yourself and others. But whether Aphasians or not, the light and the love, it's within all of us.